Hi, it's Paul again. Just to bring you up to speed on how I got where I am. I started out as maintainer. The guy who was doing the carpentry work, he retired. And carpentry being my profession, and was in the carpenters union in the school. This was in Manhattan. I was always doing masonry my whole life. I drove tow trucks for 1 year. So the guy who was doing the carpentry work retired, and I didn't ask for promotion or raise. I just said, can I have the keys to his truck? Which meant take over his work detail. And it was cheap, it was easy, I was well qualified, and everybody knew that. They said yeah, so I did that as a maintainer. I worked like that for probably 2 years, with no raise or anything. Then after the 2 years, I was given the title of machinist. That comes with a 50% pay raise. I was doing the same work that I did. I didn't do anything different. This was a gift because I was such a good worker. Now, everything was great. It was the best job I ever had. I woke up, I enjoyed going to work. I was there early, stayed late, just talking, hanging out. It was like family. And I got the title. The money was nice, Once again, 50% raise. I'm not going to say no to it. I don't care what you call it, what my title is, as long as you're paying me for it. And they were paying me well. They were getting a lot of work out of me, and the bosses were happy. I got great write-ups, reviews, or tasks and standards, they call them. It's an evaluation process. Everything was peachy. So then the EPA and the FBI, something like that, they showed up at my house one day asking questions. I was subpoenaed to go down to Foley Square. I testified. All I knew about the law at the time. I don't know much about it now, except for what they're doing. I mean, not much about that either. All I knew was, if you lie to a federal agent, that's a felony, and that's a year in jail. And so I did nothing wrong. I did what I was told. And shortly after that, the jokes weren't funny. The work wasn't good enough anymore. I think there wasn't one person in that shop that was qualified for construction, and nobody had ever said they ever had a job actually in construction. It was in a managerial position. But now all of a sudden I'm being rated and berated. I was belittled. Like I said, the jokes turned not funny. There was notes left on the door of my little part of the shop, and one of them said, can you smell a rat? And there was an arrow pointing to my door, and it said, look next door underneath. Somebody had handwritten that in underneath in a marker. It was something that was downloaded, copied off of the internet or something. I took it, I saved it, I got it somewhere. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, but I got it. It went downhill from there. Then the transfer started. I was transferred from my home shop over to The other machine shop, I stayed there a month and a half, 2 months. That was on Christmas Eve. The supervisor had said, "Merry Christmas, Paulie. I'm writing you up and I'm transferring you." And then nope, I was transferred to the other shop. I was there a month and a half, 2 months. That's when he said, "Merry Christmas. I'm writing you up and I'm transferring you." He transferred me down to Kensico, by the Kensico Reservoir. That's not the name of the site, but I don't know if I should say the name of the site. I'm not sure. Winds up, I was transferred to be in charge by his cousin. So his cousin had me out. Meanwhile, there was a picture of there was a backhoe within 50 feet of me, and within 30 feet of me there was a jackhammer, like the big kind with the V8 motor that you see on the sides of the road, highway gear, professional machinery. I was told to break this up by hand, alone. I was given I had to request a pry bar and a sledgehammer. I was just told to go out there and break it up, and I didn't know what part. I didn't know what to do. What part of my anatomy I was supposed to smash that up with? Now, didn't make much sense. So I requested a pry bar and a sledgehammer, and it was about 1 foot thick of concrete, and it took me quite a while to break that up. I had to take it all out by hand, and I threw it out on the road, and when it was all busted up and taken out, all of a sudden a guy shows up with the backhoe and takes the concrete that was 50 years under a fill station, fluoride, and puts it in the back of a D.E.P truck, and they drive off. I don't know where it went. It must have went to a proper disposal. I don't know. That wasn't my call, my business. So anyways, all the work details were ridiculous. Then at that point, the union had said, "This guy can't be my supervisor anymore," because he had issues. I heard from another supervisor that he was busting my chops, that the original supervisor was busting my chops through his cousin, who I was just transferred to. So I was there about 2 years, 2.5 years. There wasn't anything for me to do there. They were just transferring me around. I wasn't doing anything. I pretty much waited to get work assigned to me, and I was in the operator's trailer. They had a computer that didn't have internet or anything. They had a solitaire game on there, so I pretty much played solitaire for 2.5 years. From there I was transferred to a sewage place in Putnam County. I mowed the grass there twice. I think I was there 1.5 years, and that's about all I did. And then the supervisor there I think he was mad because I made more than him, and he couldn't be my supervisor. I tried to stay out of his way, but he kept getting in my face. And one time he told me to go scrape some rust off of the bottom of a lolly column. It's been like that since the place has been built, pretty much. Long story short, it was an EH&S nightmare that he asked me to do. It turned into a big to-do. He made me sit down and read the EH&S handbook. Now, those things are about this thick. It took me a week per. I read 3 of them. I got a migraine from it, and for quite a while I wasn't able to read for more than 5 minutes because it kept triggering a migraine. I had never read that much, not a book reader. the newspaper, a couple articles, whatever looks interesting, sure. And he was